This is Rock and Roll English. Real people, real English.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Rock and Roll English. In today's episode I talk to Dan the Man about something very interesting for Dan and I, which is how to be more beautiful, because Dan and I obviously both have shit personalities, so we obviously need to try to be more beautiful to try and get some women. One thing before I start the show to tell you is that I have just listened back to the conversation with Dan and realised I made a grammatical mistake, which is quite embarrassing considering I'm an English teacher. It's the type of mistake stupid English people make, like me. So if you understand the mistake, please let me know. Listen for it. I also made a mistake with a photo I shared on Facebook yesterday, if anyone's interested, but that was more of a typo, so like a mistake when I was writing on the keyboard. But it demonstrates again that I'm not the most intelligent person. So again, this conversation is very useful to people like me about how to be more beautiful, because it's the only hope I have. Okay, well, enjoy the conversation and happy listening. Dan the Man, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Long time no speak.
Yeah, it's been what? 2 days?
Yep, it's been, remember, it has been, very in a shortened way, very common though. Yeah, it's been a couple of days. Long time no speak is a common thing that people say, which is quite self-explanatory really. Often it is long time no see, but we're changing it. We're rock and roll. What can I say? So I've got a very interesting topic today, Dan, something that is very useful for both you and I.
Okay, what is it? Yeah.
I was waiting for that. It's important to know what we're going to talk about. Okay, it's how to be more beautiful. Normally, beautiful is not really associated with men. Normally we say handsome, but because, you know, we are open people, we are doing this for men and women. So we're going to stick with beautiful. And generally, you can say beautiful for a man. So after this advice, we might be able to, you know, finally find a girlfriend each. Because at the moment, it seems that that we will get married. But, so
don't say that.
Let's hope this article is good.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got my attention.
Okay, that's good to know. So we'll start off with the women. Remember this, I would like to say at this point, this is not the opinion of me and it's not the opinion of Dan, but an article from the Business Insider, which I will put on the website just so people can look. Okay, so women should smile more because researchers found that a smile from a woman makes them seem more beautiful to a man. What do you think about that, Dan?
Well, of course. I mean, yeah. But I think it's quite dangerous for a girl to smile at me because I will read that the wrong way. And
I will read that the wrong way. It means he will have different intention because he's a typical ignorant man. Oh, geez, men like you, Dan. Jesus Christ. What has the world come to? See, I would never say anything like that because I am a respectful man.
Sure.
But Dan, as we have said many a time on this podcast, is a piece of shit. Okay, well, I quite like women that don't smile so much because it makes them more intriguing.
What are you talking about?
But that's just my opinion, Dan. Everyone is entitled to an opinion, okay?
You prefer miserable women?
Well, miserable...
You are miserable, so that makes sense.
Well, exactly, I am miserable, and that brings me very nicely onto the next point. So for men to be more beautiful, it said, well, the article says that they should be more miserable because women find happiness as the least attractive quality in a man. And so they like this, you know, miserable man because, again, as I said, makes them more intriguing. So,
I find that hard to believe. Maybe you can ask your listeners to comment.
Do a vote. I also find it hard to believe because, as you quite rightly said, I am miserable. And if it were true, I would have 500 girlfriends.
Yeah.
Nice little second conditional there, if anyone's interested. If it were true, I would have 500 girlfriends. And I definitely don't, so it doesn't...
Maybe you're not being miserable enough.
Yeah, mate. Good point. I will try to be more miserable in future. Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the advice. Every day is a school day here. I'm learning as well. Okay, so, I think this one's probably quite clear, but it says, this is for women. It says that, for women that want a one-night stand. What is a one-night stand, Dan?
Where you go home with someone and never see them again.
Yeah, and when he says go home, he means go home and have sex with someone.
Well, normally I'm not allowed to say have sex on this podcast, so I'm trying to be... Of
course we are.
Well, you said your mum listens to it, so I'm trying to be respectful.
That's a good point. But we're not talking about us having sex.
Obviously not.
Just
that
so
goes without saying.
Dan and I have never had sex together. Just to be very clear about that, okay? Anyway, let's get back to one-night stands. So it says that men obviously prefer a one-night stand. Well, they like one-night stands more than women. But if women want one, they need to act stupid because men don't like intelligent one-night stands. Do you agree with that?
I don't. Well,
because we've already established that you are a piece of shit. So when you go for a one-night stand, do you look for an intelligent or a stupid woman?
Well, I can't remember the last time I had a one-night stand.
Well, this is getting a bit personal now. Yeah. Maybe we should change the topic. Let's go to the next point.
But whenever I have, they've been very intelligent.
Very intelligent.
Yeah. Okay. I hang around libraries.
Hang around libraries. So it means that they generally just stay round a library. Okay, now let's move on.
Thanks. So can I ask you that question?
Sorry. I think we've already decided to move on. Okay, so this is one for men. It says that they should shave their beards. So to shave is to cut off, let's say, the hair on your face, which is your beard.
Well, I have extreme difficulty growing a beard, don't I? So.
Yeah. It was similar to me with the miserable one. If this were true, you would have 500 girlfriends because Dan is 32, and I genuinely think when I was maybe 8, I had more of a beard than Dan has now. But it's good advice for me. Maybe I should shave my beard because this study is from Oxford Journal, and it says that, women don't like beards. They see them as being too aggressive. Well, I mean, I am obviously an aggressive person, apparently, because I have a beard.
A miserable, aggressive person.
Okay, so now back to the women. Women should wear red lipstick. This is from Manchester University. I mean, I don't know why people at university are doing a study about wearing red lipstick, but, they did, and the results are women should wear red lipstick.
I hate red lipstick.
Really?
I hate it.
I actually quite like it.
No, it's too much.
I must admit. Oh, I like it. So the people at Manchester University, I mean, I could have told them that. So they wasted their time there. When I say there, I could have told them there in the past. I can't change it. Can I, Dan?
You can't. No.
Exactly. Okay, so the next one's a good one. A bit of rock and roll vocabulary here as well. It says men should play hard to get. What does it mean if you play hard to get, Dan?
Well, to not make it too easy.
Yeah, to make it difficult. So if a woman is, let's say, trying it and you sort of make it seem that you're not interested when really you are, just make it difficult for her. But obviously women can play hard to get and often do.
It's never worked for me. So
what, you've played hard to get?
Yeah, it's never worked.
I can't imagine. You've never had the opportunity to play hard to get. So I don't think that's the case. He's trying to just make up for the embarrassment of the previous question about one-night stands. To make up for, there's a nice phrasal verb there, actually. Have you any idea what that means, Dan? Of course he hasn't. He's too stupid. That's why he goes for stupid women on a one-night stand. So to make up for something means to, let's say, recuperate something. Normally, if you do something wrong, to make up for it, you do something good. And that's what Dan was trying to do, trying to make up for his previous embarrassment. Okay, so I've got another one for men now. This one's interesting. Nottingham Trent University, just in case you were wondering. It says men should wear a T-shirt with a letter T on it because it makes your body seem like bigger, apparently, and women find it sexy.
Well,
do you have any T-shirts with T's on them? No,
but I might get one. Twat.
Yeah. Twat. Oh, nice word there, Dan. A swear word. Don't repeat it. Let's say it's a very strong way to say idiot is twat. Yeah, maybe me and you can go out, Dan, with a couple of T-shirts.
Yeah, that will help us, Paul.
Oh, Paul, we had that in the last podcast, actually, which basically just means to get to women. Or obviously, women can pull as well. So yeah, you will see Dan and I out drinking with a couple of T's on our T-shirt, trying to pull some women. I'm sure that will work. Looking miserable.
Yeah.
No beards as well.
If you see us, come over.
Yeah,
say hi.
Come over. Have a chat. We'll be interested to talk to you. Okay, so it says women should have a high-pitched voice. What is a high-pitched voice, Dan?
Well, I'm not doing it, no.
He's embarrassed.
I'm embarrassed.
Okay, so a high-pitched voice is this. So let's say a girl comes up to Dan in a bar and says, this is a high-pitched voice. Hi, Dan. Nice to meet you. Why can't you grow a beard?
That happens all the time as well.
Yeah.
Not that girls talk to me, but they always ask about my lack of beard.
Lack of beard. Very nice. I don't know about that, though, about women should have a high-pitched voice. I don't really find that so attractive.
But at the same token, I don't find a deep, heavy, bassy voice as attractive.
So when he said that normally a deep voice would be like that, talking like, all right, Dan. Yeah, that's not the best either. Okay, so we're going to finish off with the biggest and best one. Okay, Dan, you ready for this?
Go on.
Although this is according to the Daily Mail, which
is a load of shit.
Is a load of shit, absolutely. So it says that if you take a woman on a roller coaster, and remember, a roller coaster is a ride that you find in a theme park, like, I don't know, Disneyland or something, then there is much more possibility that she will like you romantically after you have been on the roller coaster together.
Well, I took an ex-girlfriend to a theme park and she broke down in tears and we had to be escorted off the ride before it started. So
broke down in tears is a nice expression there. It's just a very long and poetic way to say she started crying. But yeah, maybe then when she was crying, Dan, that was your opportunity for, to move in there and say, it's okay.
I was crying as well. So
okay, so let's just have a quick look at what we've learned today. So being miserable is good for men. Women, wear red lipstick.
No, don't.
Well, I say yes. Be like Dan and have no beard. Apparently that's good. Play hard to get. That was a nice one. Men, T-shirts with T's on there for T-shirt. Easy to remember. High-pitched voice. Are you going to give us the impression of the high-pitched voice now, Dan?
I can't. I just can't. No. I know you'll loop it on the podcast.
Loop it to mean to play again and again. I probably would actually, so it's a good idea that you don't.
I know you too well.
You do know me too well. And roller coasters, okay? This podcast has been like a roller coaster. It's been an emotional ride, but now it's finished.
Let's end on a high.
Let's end on a high. Thanks as always for your time, Dan.
No worries. I'll see you later.
We'll see you soon. So that was Dan and I talking about how to be more beautiful. We certainly learnt a lot, so I hope you did too. So let's have a look at some of that rock and roll vocabulary. We had one night stand, which is, remember, when you meet someone for the first time, go home with them, have fun in the bedroom, let's say, and then never speak to them again. That is called a one night stand. We also had hard to get, which generally women are more famous for doing, but men do it as well. When you make it seem that you're not interested in someone, but really you are. You just want to make it difficult. And to make up for something, this is a fantastic phrasal verb, very, very common, which is when you do something wrong and then you do something good to reach, let's say, the equilibrium point. A typical thing would be for a man to do something wrong and then buy his girlfriend some chocolate to make up for it. We also had the word twat, which is a swear word, so don't say that in front of your parents. But I imagine your parents don't speak English, so the best solution is probably just not to say it. But it's important to understand if someone says it to you. We had pull again, when you pull a woman or pull a man, which we had in the last episode, which is a very common term. So you go to a disco, and if you pull a woman, you maybe have a one-night stand with her. We had high-pitched voice, which, remember, is like that. And the opposite of that is deep voice, which is when you talk like that. We had lack of beard. So the word lack is when you don't have enough of something. In Dan's situation, he doesn't have enough of a beard because he just has like 1 or 2 hairs on his face, even though he's 32. Broke down in tears. This is a very nice term, which Dan used about his girlfriend when they were on the roller coaster. And as I said in the show, it's just a poetic way to say someone cried. She broke down in tears. We also had loop, when Dan refused to do the high-pitched voice because he said, I'll just loop it on the podcast. So an example of to loop something would be this.
I know you'll loop it. I know you'll loop it. I know you'll loop it.
So that's everything for today's show. If you didn't understand the grammatical mistake I made in the conversation, then go to the site rockandrollenglish.com, episode 12, and you can look at the rock and roll grammar and you will see it explained there. So hopefully you won't make the same stupid mistake that I did. So thanks very much for listening. Remember to tell your friends and leave me a review if possible, good or bad, because that helps people to find me. But obviously good is always better. One last thing. On Monday, I actually have an interesting guest, much more interesting than Dan the Man. So that is something to look forward to. Have a great weekend and see you soon.
Thanks so much for listening to Rock and Roll English. For more great content and to stay up to date, visit rockandrollenglish.com and facebook.com/rockandrollenglish. We'll catch you next time.